Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 134 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. To know your purpose can feel like a gift. Finally, clarity around why you're here and what you're here to do in life. Yet you often still need help pursuing that purpose. You need help believing that it's even possible. You want inspiration from others who have succeeded. You long to feel like you're not alone and that you are making progress. So today's podcast on pursuing your purpose will be a story on what's possible when you pursue your purpose and why it's worth your time and effort. So I have long felt that spirituality was my purpose, specifically to learn to love and be loved. It feels like a journey home to be living life, one where I am on my way to this purpose every moment of every day, constantly learning more about it as I come back again and again and again. And it can feel amorphous at times, as if every time you try to truly put your finger on it and explain it in words, the words seem not to be enough. Yet here we are as humans in a physical world trying to live our lives with purpose and make it meaningful. We have both the way we show up in this world as these spiritually energetic beings and also our human beingness. And in that human beingness, we want the tangible manifestations of our purpose, which looks like our words, our actions, and the work that we pursue. And so today I want to share with you why it's important to also focus on pursuing your purpose in the way you live, not just what you do for a living. And this will help you understand why it's beyond the work you do and how to also incorporate it into the work you do. It is a paradox, but one that I want to explain because it's worthwhile to pursue. If you were to truly understand the limitations of your thinking and conscious mind, you would let it rest more often. And it's actually the case that 80 to 90% of our actions come from our subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind needs room to explore itself. And the thinking conscious mind is often judging too soon. And I tell you this because it is always easy to find what doesn't work and why it can't be enough to know what you do know. So this analytical mind will find the gap and work to close it as fast as possible. But true expansion comes when you let yourself be in that opening just a little bit longer. And that ability to find different and more creative ways to live, be, and do come from the ability to suspend that analytical brain for one more minute. Sometimes it's just 10 more seconds. Yet it's uncomfortable to notice the stream of thoughts that question, that judge, and leave you feeling silly, wrong, or embarrassed to be even asking to live with more purpose. So you want to close that discomfort down. And what do? You come to a conclusion that it's not possible. Other people are right about living just to make ends meet, and that wanting to pursue more meaning isn't a real thing, or it isn't the right decision for you. So in closing down that discomfort, you will feel a sense of relief. And we erroneously then believe that we made the right decision because comfort is good. We go on with our lives. We stop asking ourselves about the additional meaning we are seeking. We go back to seeing why it's good for you to do that. Keep going, right? Just do the things you've always been doing the way that you've been doing them. And thoughts like everyone else seems fine living this way, or they don't need to know their purpose to be happy, or this is comfortable and I shouldn't be ungrateful. While there's nothing wrong with that thinking, what's unhelpful is when it comes from trying to disguise discomfort. So your discomfort is asking you to pursue a question that may not be easy to fit into your very defined life. And I'm sure you've had moments where you were like, this is what life is about. Perhaps you were on vacation, you were in nature, you were in community with family or friends. You felt a sense of flow that was supportive. You don't question things as much in those moments. You just flow from one thing to the next naturally. And what's strange is that we often think to ourselves how nice it would be if our life was just like this all the time. We think of these as the extra special moments. And what I challenge my clients to do is to think differently about these moments. What if these moments were your life? The moments where you feel so grateful to be alive. Why? Because these moments are your life. They're literally in your life right now. And this connected moment that I'm describing is your norm as much as the other part of your life, which feels more tense, more doing oriented, full of the push and the questions and the I don't knows and the let's just get through this kind of energy. And our job is to stitch together more of these extra special feeling moments to craft our lives in a way where we feel like we have so much to be grateful for. And it's not just conceptual, but we actually feel that. And we are in that gratitude, not because we should be, but because we actually feel it deep into our bones. And I know we've all had those moments where suddenly it hits you, where suddenly you're just like, oh my goodness, this is what it feels like. I feel so alive. I feel so grateful. Life really is good right now. And this is possible, whether it's that feeling of luxury surrounding you, the pause of that critical inner voice, the quiet you get when you spend times outdoors or in the still of the morning, or maybe that sense of connection and love that you feel with those around you. These can be your everyday experiences. And the other day, this is an example, I have so many of them, but this is one that's recent. The other day, my daughter and I were in a store. We were buying some books and gifts for a new baby in our neighborhood. And actually, our whole family was in the store. And it was just so quiet. It was a home store. There was relaxing music playing. Our daughter sat on this bench in the store looking through the books that they had on display. And afterwards, as we were walking out, my youngest daughter commented, "Mom, that was so nice. I just wanted to keep staying there." And so I was like, yeah, I understand. It was nice. And then I said, is that something that you would want to create in our own home? And she was like so excited. She was like a big yes to that. And this line of thinking and these actions already nudged forward because of a thought that is in my own mind, which is why not have this more often? And many times there's much less preventing us from pursuing our purpose than we believe. We think we have to do an entirely different line of work, give up the way we live currently, including the things we enjoy. But it's not the case. When you're pursuing your purpose, you can be almost anywhere, doing almost anything, and you feel that sense of connection from your core coming through. It's who you are. And when you have that kind of perspective about your life, you're suddenly operating from a more confident and relaxed energy. You know that you can figure out the minutia of daily life when you have that energy. You don't feel overwhelmed by the to-dos and the list of things that have to be done. You let the stress of the bad news or whatever scary moments that will come every week or month, you let those go away. You let them disappear because you feel like there's something even bigger that you'll always have, that's always present for you. And this is the power of pursuing your purpose in the way you live. You see all the things that you do to be moving you towards the way you've wanted to live your life. You see all the obstacles as something to learn from and to be curious about so you can fit them into the puzzle that is your life. You see the mystery of your past and the future to be these open-ended questions that don't have to be answered. And you don't think where you're from is a problem, and you know that you don't have to compare yourself to others. That's what happens when you're embodied in that sense of purpose. It becomes your own North Star. And when you lose that sense of purpose, you will now come down to that more realistic, materialistic realm to measure success. You'll see that you don't have enough compared to other people. You'll see what you haven't yet done and what you want to do as embarrassing. You feel the sense of needing to be further along and not good enough. And these are what most people experience on their way to success. But you don't have to live your life this way. You can have these feelings and thoughts as a passing small voice instead of the voice that is the loudest. And when you pursue your purpose, the journey is going to feel more magical. It's going to feel more interesting. You're going to feel this continuity of energy that you haven't felt before. And people will pop up out of nowhere to support you, and they will actually mean it. And you release that need to answer every single question, and you find that things just seem to make more sense. And you're able to be more of that parent or that partner or that teammate or their boss that you desire to be. And the reason is because your purpose is typically an energy that's even greater than the stressors and the day-to-day activities you have in your life. It is what brings you perspective because it is an overarching feeling and this overarching energy that you're moving towards and that you're embodying. So I've always known that spirituality was important to me, but I couldn't describe it or articulate it for a long time because I started feeling that way at a very young age. And you might be feeling that way too. How do you even put into words when it's more of a feeling? Yet I want to offer that feeling is enough. I want to remind you that there's a sense of remembrance that occurs when you come into contact with that energy. It might be when you meet someone, think a thought, remember something, or see something in your environment. And instead of thinking it's not enough, you can take that energy, encapsulate it, and let it be the fuel of your life. And this is what I do with my clients. We work on taking that lightning in a bottle moment and expanding it, fanning it, so that it grows 100x. What if you could have your energy feeling so alive and connected to so many things in your life that things seem more possible than ever? Life then becomes more expansive. You have so many more beautifully connected moments. Success feels like it comes more easily. Self-doubt seems to reduce as you remember who you are, a person and a being and an energy that is even bigger than you ever imagined. And every Sunday, I try to visit my grandmother. It doesn't always work, and some Sundays I miss it, but when I do go, I connect with my mom, and we all go as a family. And even though it has been a challenging transition with my grandmother, she now has dementia, and we're working through that, it has brought our family closer, right? We'll always find these silver linings in the challenges that we face. And similar to before my dad passed, and I was spending a lot of time visiting my other grandmother, who I was very close to. She had a stroke. My dad and I connected a lot in those moments. So I'm also trying to cherish these times as a reason for us to connect that may not have happened, but now we get to do so even more frequently. And so we go into the city. Sometimes the girls are like, why are we going? I don't know why we have to do this, but they've been really good sports, and I think they're learning the value of connection and family and doing things for people that you care about. And as I was having dinner with my mom afterwards, we were all having dinner together, she was asking me about our day-to-day life and how some of the girls were doing. And I was talking about how Kayla seems to ask sometimes these really big and interesting life questions. Big questions like, how did we get here? Like, we as a human species. Or what happens after we die? And it happens to be these very philosophical and big questions. And so I was telling my mom about that, and she was telling me how children tend to remember more when they're younger, whether it's past lives, if you believe that, or just themselves as something more than a human body. It's a spiritual sense of this remembrance. So she told me a story about how when I was 6 years old, do I remember this time that I had these dreams? And of course, we were telling the story, and the girls love to hear any stories of us as kids. I'm sure if you have kids, you know what that's like. But they like to hear about when their parents were kids because it humanizes us, right, as more than these, parental figures. So I didn't remember the story, so she was like, well, let me tell you. Well, we were in the afternoon, and I was napping, and she heard me crying. So she came to me, and she asked me what was wrong. I said I had a dream, and that there were these two troops, or these two groups of people, and they were fighting over me. And one group was a set of monks dressed in gray, and the other group was a set of monks dressed in yellow. And at the time, my mom hadn't yet begun studying Buddhism. So there really wasn't exposure to monks in our life. And the next day, the same thing happened. I had the same dream. I was napping, and I woke up crying again. And then a third day, the same thing occurred with the same dream, and I woke up crying again. And I have no recollection of the story. It came as a surprise to me, but it was also not a surprise. My mom has no idea really how spiritual my life is because on the outside, there's not a lot that signals it. I think many people that would meet me in my day-to-day life probably would just see me as, a normal human being, just like everyone else doing their daily things. So I told her, oh, this is the work that I do with my clients. And I told her why I pursued certain things in my own life and my calling as a spiritual achievement coach. And she was like, really? I said, did you know that I'm fairly spiritual? And I started meditating at this age. She had no idea because I was doing all of these things on my own. And these are the things that happen when you begin pursuing your purpose. You don't know when it will come together, what stories will help you, and what you'll discover for yourself that no one else knows but you until they do. And it's like an outward and an inward experience that's not very linear at all. And this is what I want to encourage you to pursue, the non-linearity of life. To open up what's closed, to see what's big as small and what's small as big. And no one may understand but you for a while. And that's okay. So if you're feeling sufficient and that you're making progress in this area, this is what success looks like for you on your terms. And there is a whole community of others who are asking the same questions as you. And I work with many of them. They live these lives that look very similar to everyone else's. But the difference is that they ask these questions and we talk about them as normal topics. You aren't weird in any way that you should be worried about. You might be abnormal in this world of material wants only, but that's not a problem. You're looking for more, and I encourage you to experience it in your life. I've had moments where I felt like I am in this like corporate underground environment sometimes, where I have all these conversations with people that are pursuing and seeking more and different in their life. And they're also amazing leaders, teammates, partners, parents, friends, daughters, brothers, sisters, all the things. So because you have these spiritual ideals or these pursuits or these questions, or you meditate, or you love yoga, or you just feel this desire for more inner peace, it does not mean you abdicate this human side of your life where you're doing all these other things as well. And that's sometimes what I think is missing, and why this work that I do becomes so important for so many. I've had clients actually say, can I talk to you about the I Ching or the book of X, Y, and Z and ask you about my relationships at work and how to do performance management? I'm like, yeah, we could talk about all these things. And I think this is where it gets very interesting, to not see it as these bifurcated areas of your life, but to see it as important. Your spiritual side is no less important, nor is it more important than what might be going on in your work. Because the thing is, it's everywhere and everything, and the way you do one thing is the way you do everything else. And so it all becomes linked. And that's why I want you to not get quiet about the questions that you have. It will only keep stirring you more and more in life. And I know this through experience, because I've tried to shut it down many times, but it just keeps coming back up. And it does for many of the people I work with. So I know from firsthand experience that until you start to explore that desire, until you start to look for the more and experience it in your life, you won't feel that full sense of fulfillment that you can feel. So create the moments that you want to experience from the inside out. Find simplicity of how easy it is to pursue your purpose just because you connect to a sense of energy. And then you're going to find that your work begins to transform. You're going to find that your outer environment to become someone who seems more bright, even sparkly at times, and magnetic is happening. And you'll find it easier to answer the questions that you have, to lead confidently, to reduce stress, to reduce that sense of inner voice that is highly critical and the perfectionism. And as a result of reducing all those things, you're going to stop procrastinating on what matters most. So when you come from that inside out, you're going to see that pursuing your purpose is possible and that we are all rooting for you. So if you love these topics, you will love the Spiritual Achiever Way, and invite you to explore that in Spiritual Achiever Coaching. You will develop your sense of confidence, your trust, your intuition. You will learn how to manage your time, your energy, your routines in creative ways as you pursue a life of meaning and enjoyment, and you achieve your biggest and most important goals differently. So you can reach out at www.mayemson.com/contact to learn more about this program. We are heading into our first retreat of the coming year. We will be in Sedona, Arizona in February, and it is a perfect time to come back to remembering who you are and what's most important in your life. We will take your biggest decisions. We will create a plan that will guide your year. You will love it, and we will love to have you there as part of our coaching community. So that's it, my friends, for this week, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. They'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.